Imagine you are a fisherman. It is the early morning of November 14th, 1963. You are working the fishing grounds off the southern coast of Iceland. And the environment is, well, it's completely unforgiving.
Oh, absolutely. Pitch black water, freezing cold air.
Right, and the massive swells of the North Atlantic are just tossing your vessel around. So you look out toward the horizon, and you spot something completely alarming.
A massive, churning column of dark smoke.
Exactly. Just rising directly out of the ocean. And your first instinct, naturally, is that a fellowship is on fire. A total catastrophe at sea.
Yeah, you would immediately assume it was a rescue mission.
You would. So you brace yourself, alert the crew, and steer the boat toward the smoke. But as you get closer, this intense smell of sulfur hits the deck.
Yeah.
And you realize you aren't looking at a sinking vessel at all.
No, not even close.
You are witnessing the violent, real-time birth of a brand new piece of the Earth.
We are looking at the formation of the island of Surtsey and contrasting that with a fascinating cartographical mystery, which is the phenomenon of phantom islands.
The mission today is to explore how our planet is in a state of constant violent change. We want to see how new ecosystems emerge from just sterile rock and why human maps really struggle to capture the true shifting face of the Earth.
Because on that morning in 1963, the ocean itself was literally boiling. The crew of that fishing vessel, the Iceland II, they were watching a submarine volcano violently breach the surface.
Which is just wild to think about.
It really is. They were seeing magma from deep within the Earth's mantle, colliding with freezing seawater, flashing into steam, and just shattering into this towering pillar of ash.
The forces at play here are almost incomprehensible. But to understand how an entire island can simply materialize practically overnight, we actually have to look away from the smoke in the sky.
Right. You have to go deep beneath the surface of the water where the real action is happening.
Exactly. The birth of this new land didn't start at the waves. It started all the way at the bottom of the ocean, along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge.
And for those who might not know, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge is this massive underwater mountain range. It runs straight down the center of the Atlantic Ocean.
It's essentially the tectonic boundary between the North American plate and the Eurasian plate, right?
Yeah, exactly. These two colossal slabs of the Earth's crust are constantly in motion. They are pulling apart from one another at a rate of about an inch a year.
Which is, what, roughly the same speed that your fingernails grow?
Just about, yeah. It is very slow, but incredibly powerful.
I always picture that ridge as like a giant zipper running down the Earth's crust. It's slowly being unzipped by tectonic forces, and as those teeth pull apart, it creates a weak point.
A gap for the mantle to escape?
Right. That gap allows the molten stuffing from deep inside the planet, the magma, to rise up and leak out into the freezing ocean water. But, okay, let's unpack this. If this tectonic zipper is constantly active, why aren't we seeing new islands popping up on our maps every single Tuesday?
Well, it is a chaotic race against the ocean, really. And spoiler alert, the ocean almost always wins.
Makes sense. It's a lot of water.
Exactly. When that 2,000-degree magma meets cold seawater, the resulting physical reaction depends entirely on depth. Usually this process happens miles underwater in the abyssal plains.
So the pressure down there must be just unimaginable.
It is crushing. The sheer weight of the ocean creates immense hydrostatic pressure. And that pressure is so heavy that it physically prevents the water from turning into steam and expanding.
Wow, so it suppresses the explosive force of the magma entirely.
Completely. The lava just oozes out, cools rapidly against the freezing water, and forms these bulbous shapes called pillow lavas on the seafloor. And humans on the surface have absolutely no idea it's even happening.
But for an island to actually form, the conditions have to be different.
Right. The eruption has to happen in relatively shallow water. That is where the hydrostatic pressure drops low enough to allow the water to flash into steam.
And when water turns to steam, it expands, what, like 1,700 times its original volume?
In a fraction of a second, yeah. This triggers a massive, violent process called hydrovolcanism. The expanding steam shatters the rising magma into fragments of ash and rock, blasting it upward.
So the volcano isn't just oozing lava anymore. It's acting like a massive underwater shotgun, just blasting debris toward the surface.
That is a great way to put it. And that debris has to build a mountain of rock from the seafloor up, faster than the brutal ocean currents can wash it away.
Which has to take a staggering amount of material.
A sustained volume of magma expelled at an incredible rate. Most submarine volcanoes simply run out of fuel before they can breach the surface. Their fragile ash cones just get instantly eroded back into the sea.
But on that cold morning in 1963, the ocean actually lost the race.
It did. The magma finally broke through the waves.
And it triggered an absolute global spectacle. I mean, the growth of this new landmass was astonishingly rapid. What started as just smoke and bubbling water quickly became a towering physical cone of hardened rock.
Just asserting itself right above the waves.
Yeah. And the ash cloud rose miles into the atmosphere, generating its own lightning storms because the friction of the shattered volcanic glass generated these massive static charges. Within days, an actual island had formed.
And it was officially named Surtsey after Surtur, the fire giant from Norse mythology, which is just a perfect name for it.
It really is, but I get that it's rare. Let me ask you, though, a volcano erupted and made a giant rock. Why was the whole world so captivated by a sterile pile of cooling lava?
Because it wasn't just a rock, it was a front row seat to the genesis of geography. Historically, humanity understood that the Earth changed over millions of years.
Right, we accepted it conceptually. We knew mountains rose and continents drifted.
But it was entirely abstract. Surtsey offered humanity a chance to witness planetary creation in real time. It was visceral proof that the Earth is alive and actively reshaping itself right in front of our eyes.
It's like arriving at a theater an hour into the play.
Yeah.
We can deduce how the set was built, but we didn't get to actually watch the carpenters working. Surtsey gave us that chance.
Exactly. And that intense fascination led the Icelandic government to take a really radical step. They declared Surtsey a highly protected nature reserve almost immediately.
Because they recognized that the geological birth was just the beginning.
Right. The aftermath was going to be one of the most important scientific opportunities of the century. Surtsey was a completely sterile rock, fresh from the mantle, totally devoid of any organic matter.
A completely untouched blank canvas, which introduces an entirely new mystery. Because we go from a chaotic, boiling, violent event to a sterile, cooling pile of lava. Nothing should be able to live there.
Absolutely nothing.
Yet today, Surtsey is a thriving ecosystem and a protected UNESCO World Heritage Site. We have this pristine environment where humans are strictly banned from interfering.
You can't even visit without high-level government clearance. And the scientists who do go have their clothes meticulously checked for rogue seeds.
Which brings us to the real living laboratory aspect. Here's where it gets really interesting. If this is a protected site and humans aren't allowed to interfere or plant anything, how are plants and insects crossing the ocean to get there?
Yeah.
Is it all just wind and bird droppings?
Well, what's fascinating here is the process of ecological succession. Nature basically orchestrates life from absolute zero without any human intervention.
So how does it start?
The mechanisms are entirely natural, driven by wind, ocean currents, and animal vectors. But the very first arrivals weren't plants or insects, they were microbes.
Just bacteria and fungi.
Yeah. Spores are incredibly lightweight. They can be carried on atmospheric winds for thousands of miles.
But microbes still need food, right? They land on a solid piece of basaltic rock. There's no soil, no organic matter, nothing to decompose.
That is the amazing part. Certain specialized microbes, like cyanobacteria and specific lichens, they don't need organic soil. They literally eat the rock.
Wait, they eat the volcanic rock?
They do. They excrete weak organic acids that slowly dissolve the volcanic minerals, extracting the trace nutrients they need to survive.
Oh, wow.
And through this chemical weathering and the natural cycle of these microbes living and dying, they create the very first microscopic layers of organic matter. They are manufacturing the earliest hints of soil.
Okay, that sets the stage. But to get actual plants with roots, you need seeds to cross miles of ocean.
Ocean currents handle some of that. Driftwood and organic debris wash ashore, carrying seeds of coastal plants. But the absolute master builders of the Surtsey ecosystem were the seabirds.
Nature's flying terraformers.
Exactly. Gulls, fulmars, and guillemots are constantly flying over the North Atlantic looking for places to rest or nest. And a brand new predator-free island is a perfect sanctuary.
So they land on the sterile rock, and they bring fertilizer with them in the form of guano.
Right, and guano is incredibly rich in nitrogen and phosphorus, which are the exact nutrients missing from volcanic ash. Even better, birds eat berries and vegetation on the mainland or on neighboring islands. Ah, so the seed survives the trip.
It passes right through the bird's digestive tract unharmed, and it gets deposited onto Surtsey wrapped in a neat little package of high-grade fertilizer.
That is just brilliant. The bird inadvertently provides the seed and the soil in one drop. The first higher plant found on Surtsey was the sea rocket, sprouting just 2 years after the eruption stopped.
It happens so fast, and from there, the biological cascade just accelerates. The plants establish deeper roots, stabilizing the loose volcanic ash so it doesn't blow away.
And once you have plants, I imagine the insects finally have a food source.
Exactly. Blowflies might arrive on the carcass of a dead bird washed ashore. Or spiders get blown in on storm winds, literally using strands of silk like parachutes.
That is terrifying, but amazing.
It is. And then the insects attract smaller land birds. Those birds bring more seeds, expanding the plant diversity even further, until the vegetation becomes dense enough that marine mammals begin to notice. Decades after the eruption, seals started hauling out on Surtsey's shores to rest, and eventually they began using the island for breeding and pupping. The documentation of Surtsey's birth and its subsequent greening is arguably the most precise record of island formation in human history, right? Every single day of its existence has been photographed, mapped, and cataloged.
Very true.
But human map making hasn't always been defined by satellite precision and verified geology. For most of history, cartographers dealt with the exact opposite phenomenon.
Islands on maps that don't actually exist.
Right. Instead of real islands popping up out of nowhere, we had maps littered with these fictions. Phantom islands, imaginary lands that live long, deeply documented lives on paper, influencing navigation for centuries.
Surtsey's sudden appearance was a cartographer's dream. Phantom islands were the nightmare.
Yeah, Surtsey is real land that was born suddenly. Phantom islands are fictions that died slowly. The history of early cartography operates a lot like a massive, multi-generational game of telephone.
Oh, that is a great analogy.
You have sailors returning from terrifying voyages across uncharted stormy oceans. They might see a low-lying cloud bank, an optical illusion on the horizon, or an iceberg obscured by fog, and they just log it as land.
And when you look at the psychological landscape of early exploration, an empty map was terrifying. There is this concept called horror vacuum, the fear of empty space.
So for a map maker, an incomplete map was a literal liability.
Exactly. If a sailor claimed they saw an island, a cartographer felt intense pressure to include it. Leaving an island off the map meant risking a ship crashing into an uncharted hazard.
Well, including an imaginary island just meant a ship might waste a few days looking for a port that wasn't there.
Right, it was the safer bet.
One of the most famous examples from our sources is High Brazil. This was a mythological island supposedly located off the western coast of Ireland. It was steeped in Celtic folklore, said to be shrouded in mist and only visible to the naked eye once every 7 years.
But despite being a myth, it made its way onto official, serious nautical charts for centuries. Sailors would actively mount expeditions just to find it.
And St. Brendan's Island followed a similar trajectory, born from a religious legend about an Irish monk's journey.
But not all phantom islands were born from myth or optical illusions. Some were born from outright deception and political maneuvering.
Oh, like the island of Friesland.
Yes, Friesland is a prime example. It appeared on maps of the North Atlantic for over 100 years. Drawn as this massive island, roughly the size of Iceland, complete with detailed coastlines, bays, and cities.
And where did it even come from?
It originated in the 1550s from a prominent Venetian family, the Zenos. They publish a map and a series of letters, claiming their ancestors had navigated the North Atlantic and discovered Friesland in the 1390s.
Conveniently predating Christopher Columbus's voyage by a century.
Exactly. The Zeno map was almost certainly a complete fabrication designed to bolster Venice's political claim to the discovery of the New World.
But the map was incredibly detailed and beautifully engraved. So other cartographers across Europe saw this authoritative-looking document and simply copied Friesland onto their own maps.
Mistake just compounded.
Explorers would sail into the North Atlantic, get confused by the primitive navigation tools of the era, sight the coast of Greenland or Baffin Island, and log in their journals that they had successfully reached the shores of Friesland.
Which just further cemented its existence. It really demonstrates the profound inertia of printed information. Maps record physical geography, yes, but they also record human assumptions and the cascading effect of authority.
Once a mistake is written down, it becomes fact for generations.
Right. It becomes incredibly difficult to unwrite.
Okay, I can understand a hoax from the 1500s surviving for a while. Navigation was incredibly imprecise. But how did a place like Sandy Island survive on modern maps for so long before anyone realized it was fake?
It really shatters the idea that phantom islands are just ancient history, doesn't it?
It was still appearing on Google Earth in 2012. Sandy Island was a sizable landmass, supposedly located in the Coral Sea between Australia and New Caledonia.
The survival of Sandy Island into the digital age is just a fascinating case study in data agglomeration. Its origins trace back to 1876.
When the captain of a British whaling ship reported seeing heavy breakers and what appeared to be sandy islets.
Right, and spotting heavy breakers in 1876, they could have just been looking at a pumice raft from a recent submarine volcanic eruption.
Ironically, the exact same process that formed Surtsey, just lacking the magma to build a permanent island. So the captain logs it just to be safe.
And the British Admiralty takes that log and adds Sandy Island to their official nautical charts in 1908 as a potential hazard. The mistake is now official doctrine.
So when the next cartographer updates their map, they just assume Sandy Island must be there.
Exactly. And no government or university is going to spend millions of dollars chartering a vessel to sail to an empty patch of ocean just to rigorously verify that a patch of water is, in fact, just water.
The mistake gets copied from paper charts to maritime databases. And when tech companies began building modern digital maps, they didn't launch their own fleets of surveying ships.
No, they just ingested existing databases. So, in 1876, misidentification by a whaling captain gets quietly absorbed into the code of the 21st century.
And it wasn't until a team of Australian scientists in 2012 physically sailed a research vessel to the exact coordinates and found ocean depths of over 4,000 feet that the island was finally scrubbed from digital maps.
Phantom islands vanish from maps because they were never real to begin with. The cartography just finally catches up to the reality.
But Surtsey, which is an entirely real, tangible piece of basalt, is facing its own vanishing act, isn't it?
It is. The very forces that allowed Surtsey to form are now working tirelessly to tear it down. The North Atlantic is deeply hostile. The island is just battered by relentless ocean swells and violent winter storms.
So the mass of Surtsey has been shrinking since the moment the eruption ceased in 1967.
Yes. The outer layers of the island are composed of loose, tephra-volcanic ash and pumice, which the ocean waves easily erode away.
Are we basically just watching a slow-motion vanishing act?
Yeah.
We protect this island with the UNESCO designation, but we can't protect it from the ocean itself.
We can't. Only the core of the island, where the heat chemically altered the loose ash into a hard rock called palagonite, is offering significant resistance. But even that won't last forever.
What are the estimates?
Current models suggest Surtsey might only survive above sea level for another century or two. Eventually, the ocean will completely reclaim it, leaving only a submerged seamount.
A bump on the ocean floor, we watched it arrive, and our great-grandchildren will likely watch it leave. So what does this all mean?
I think Surtsey's gradual erosion serves as a stark reminder of the Earth's constant cycle of creation and destruction. We have a tendency to view geography as permanent.
We build cities on coastlines and assume the physical foundation of our world is fixed.
But Surtsey teaches us that even solid islands can be deeply temporary. Geography is not a finished painting. It is a fleeting snapshot in deep geological time.
The ground beneath our feet or beneath our boats is moving, breaking, building, and washing away. The Earth refuses to hold still for its portrait, which guarantees that our maps will always be works in progress.
Very well said.
So the next time you open a digital map on your phone, zooming in on coastlines and scrolling across vast oceans, ask yourself, which of the land masses you are looking at right now are just temporary blips? Which ones are slowly vanishing, returning to the sea? And what entirely new Surtseys are brewing right now, miles beneath the ocean's surface, just waiting for their moment to shatter the water and redraw the maps of tomorrow.
Every remarkable story reminds us of one simple truth. Reality is often far stranger than fiction.
Thank you for listening to Wait, What?
Until next time, stay curious.
Wait, what?